Hey everybody, it's Stacy Statterman. So thanks for listening in. Of course, I have a special guest here today, who I'll introduce in just a minute. Of course, if you've been keeping up with the videos I've been doing pretty much every Wednesday for a bunch of months now, I've been really focused on bringing people ideas, guests, experts, perspectives that are about renewing, pivoting, thriving in 2021. It's been a crazy time, to say the least. And of course, one of the things I'm motivated by is this notion that the future doesn't fit in the containers of the past, and reconciling that truth, as shared by Rashad, is, I think, critical to this idea of leveling up, especially as we consider our careers, our pathways professionally, et cetera. So I'm really excited to have my friend and colleague, John Tarnoff, here. He is an executive and career transition coach, founder of the Reinvention Group. He's got a billion cool things in his background. He's an author. He helps people with pivots. He helps people across a whole bunch of industry areas. And he worked on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So, he's awesome. Big roots in film and entertainment. And I invited him here today because he's really at the forefront of thinking about this idea of reinvention and pivoting and second acts and next acts. So thanks for being here, John. It's so good to have you.
Great to be here, Stacy. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, awesome. So in our prep, of course, I asked you to come to the table with a quote that has some roots for you and some driver for you. And you shared this quote: "God fires you from jobs you're too dumb to quit." And I love that statement. But tell us why this is is important to you, and maybe how it connects to the idea of leveling up.
Well, I talk about getting fired a lot, and I actually talk about the fact that in my entertainment career, of course, a very volatile business where you can't really expect job longevity to any great degree. But in that entertainment career, over 35 years, I was fired 39% of the time.
Wow.
Which always gets a chuckle.
Yeah, love it.
And I came up with that for a TEDx talk that I did about career reinvention, and speaking to the idea that you can't think about getting fired today the way we used to when we were coming up, where getting fired was shameful. You did something wrong. As my mother used to say to me, "Why can't you hold a job?" So today you've got to look at this as a question of fit. And the idea that God fires you from jobs you're too dumb to quit is this idea that if you're getting fired, you're probably not reading the tea leaves correctly at that time. You're not really following along with the ebb and the flow, the pattern of what's going on in your job. And understandably, for most of us, it's really hard to pick up and leave and to quit, particularly if you have nothing to go to. So it's just a reminder that we need to take more responsibility around maintaining the job, looking out for our own career.
Yeah, I love this. And I think I was excited when you shared this because I have a habit of, at least I don't fire myself from my own company now, but should make me think about that from time to time. But I advocated for my own exit on several occasions in my corporate life, and I think it's a real point of power, provided one is really leading themselves in their career. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And to that point, I'm working with a client right now who is in that kind of a cusp, and we had this conversation about should she stay or should she go? What's the timing of that? And I said, well, you're gonna have to figure this out, but I would really recommend that you take the initiative and that you have this conversation with them about your schedule, because she's in the process of realizing that it's time, that she's been there a long time. It's really time for her to move on, and she knows this, but she's in that uncomfortable position that how do we say this? People who have held jobs for a long time are often in, which is, you're there, it's your life, all these people, all this history. It's really hard to kind of pull everything back into your own individual self and say, I have to make this change.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, I think you really touched on this in your earlier comments, like the climate's different. I mean, my dad worked for IBM for 30 years. And I found his offer letter, by the way, I feel like
Wow.
months ago. I still have it. It was like in his precious, he's passed away long ago, but it was in like his special folder of precious items. And to me, it was such an example of the way forming that relationship was really a lifelong thing. And
it was the compact,
right? Right. Absolutely.
And the minute that defined benefit pensions started to go out the door, everything changed. And we are now in the situation we're in, where there is no corporate loyalty. But younger generations know this. Older generations, older Gen X and boomers, are still clinging to this idea that they are somehow beholden to the company that is no longer beholden to them.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, you have lots of roots and connections in the entertainment space. And I feel like some of the more resistant folks that I meet along my journey are kind of still clinging to that idea that a career in entertainment looks like this.
Right.
Are you seeing similar things?
Right. Well. I mean, entertainment is just one industry that has of innumerable industries that have been disrupted by this. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because I don't work with, strangely enough, I don't work with a lot of entertainment-based clients, but I did work with a guy last year who was a TV programming executive, and one of the first things he said to me was, "What happened to lunch? Why don't we do lunch anymore? No one wants to do lunch." It's like, how do you get to know people if you don't go out to lunch? And I said, dude, you gotta just wake up. It's a different era, I said, LinkedIn is the new lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate LinkedIn. It's like, no, come on. You gotta reframe your whole attitude about what are you trying to get out of lunch? You're trying to know people. You're trying to find areas that you have in common. But it's a much faster moving world. People don't have time for it. Not because they don't like you, but because they have too much opportunity, too much pressure. And you look at the way, certainly entertainment, but every business through digital has gotten so spread out into so many areas. It's so fragmented, so many specialties, so many different opportunities to market, to cross market. I mean, the list is innumerable. So you don't have time for lunch, right?
No, true. And I think that I agree. It's like the formats of things have changed, but the needs are still there.
Right.
Sort of delivering on those needs is sort of changed quite a bit. And of course, we talked a little bit about this in advance, but this idea that my network is a powerful place, that's still a really important, critical thing. But I wanted to get your reaction to this quote from Kelly Hoey, who is, kind of modern day networking guru. It's not who you know, it's who knows what you know. How do you reconcile that idea?
Well, it's a great quote, and it completely dovetails with my whole practice, which is completely network centric. And I like to say to people, you got to stop applying to open positions and start building your network, right? Start chasing relationships, not job openings.
Yeah.
Because the career is in the network. It's not in the job, and you've got to use the career. Use the network to, as Hoey says, to get people to know what it is that you stand for. So this goes back to the idea of value proposition. And the beauty of LinkedIn is that it is the most perfect marketing hub for your career, and this ability to actually give people the information that they need to know, that you want them to know about you and what you do, so that they can market for you. And that's the value of your network.
Yeah, I love that. And it is funny because you do still, I'm sure you were too, early adopter to LinkedIn. I was never afraid of it, but there are people that are, I don't want to tell people anything on there. Like, okay, well then just don't pretend you're dead. I mean, it's kind of about the same.
Right. No picture, 30 connections, I don't understand the value of LinkedIn. It's okay. Well, let's look into it.
Learn. Let's test and learn. It is funny though. It's sort of I was in the luxury marketing space for a long time, and I remember working with some of the most prestigious brands in that category, and the resistance about, well, we don't want a website. It's like, okay,
Right.
well, the culture has changed, and the culture has an expectation that companies will communicate them through the internet.
Right.
And they're like, oh, no, we don't want to do that because it's not glamorous enough. And I said, okay, well, they will, people will assume that you're out of business. So is that a better alternative than figuring out how to come up with a presence that you're happy with? I feel like it's very similar for people who are in this resistant space of thinking about how LinkedIn can be a powerful thing versus an annoyance.
That also goes to something that I've been kind of mindful of during the pandemic. And I saw an article at some point about kind of this rundown of the 3 approaches that businesses had to the pandemic. And I've related it back to, as individuals, how we need to think of moving forward. And this goes to your theme of leveling up. So the 3 approaches, kind of a 3 little pigs approach to this was, the first approach was, okay, pandemic, stay the course, don't make any changes, just take a deep breath and just move through steadily. No changes. Just wait for it to kind of get done and we'll be back to normal. Number 2 was retrench, was cut, trim everything down to the core business, hunker down, get into the bunker, wait for it to pass, and then reemerge and get back into it. And the third approach was meet it head on, was confront it, analyze it, figure it out, expand, take risks, and really push through it. So whatever you're doing, adapt, adjust, don't lose your customers. And guess who's surviving? It's number 3. It's the businesses that have been at the forefront, that went to touchless payments right away. Every step of the way they've been there. They've communicated with their customers. They've increased their presence, their mailing lists, their freebies, whatever it is that they're doing to stay engaged and to be leaders through the pandemic. Whereas number 1, number 2, the house of sticks and the house of straw, they've got a terrible amount of catch up to do, which is going to be costly. They've lost market share. They've lost market position. So translate that back to us as individuals. We need to be adopting the same kind of proactive stance in our own careers and get ahead of it in order to not just level up, but to kind of stay in the game.
Yeah. It's just I think also for more experienced people, it's also kind of reconciling that, like that, if you want to go back to predictability and stability, go back to like 1995 or 1990.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
it is.
That's too late, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I was looking at something, a little video in the Wall Street Journal this morning about inflation, about the cost of food, and they're kind of going through all of the factors that are impacting the cost of food, some of which may be temporary, some of which may be long-term, no one knows. But when you think about all of the variables that are now working on the economy and by extension on the culture, you got to stay on your toes, right? There is no more stability. There is no more, oh, okay, well, here we are. We're back to normal, or this is the new normal, or whatever it is that you want to say where you get to the plateau. Expect another spike, another climb, another mountain behind that plateau, because it's going to come.
Right. This seems a little bit related to what we hear from Scott Galloway. Yes, opportunity-rich time, cosmic opportunity, he's called it. Recommendations about repairing and restoring. But when we had the pre-call, you had a different perspective on this. I'd love you to share it.
Yeah, I think repair and restore is not enough. I think that repair and restore gets you back to square one, but square one, by the time you get back to square one, everyone else has gone to square 5.
Right.
Right. So you want to be really thinking more aggressively about how to counteract the inertia that is ultimately going to hold you back and keep you behind. And I think one of the sad things about people who are getting older and shrinking from the opportunities that are available to them is that we have so much to offer. And when you think about, I don't know if you or you had contacts with younger people or people in your family, I have found so many opportunities over the last year where younger people have reached out and sought my mentoring or solace around this crazy situation we've been in, because they just have no frame of reference. Right? They haven't gone through something like this. They have no life experience to back this up. They have no sense of their own resilience, and they need the leadership and the experience of older people who have been through something of life and have experienced loss, to be able to help them through it. And so we have, I believe, this responsibility to the world, to younger generations, to be leaders wherever we can, to help push through the inertia and go beyond this idea of repairing and restoring to reinventing, reconstructing, reimagining, re-envisioning what the future is going to be.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I forget where this notion is from, but I know there's been a fair amount of reporting done on this is the most generationally diverse time in business. So the opportunity to make sure that your organization has people from all the working generations is really remarkable. And to be brave about filling those gaps when there's a gap in that distribution or that variety. I mean, I'm constantly talking to my sort of magazine and folks who've been through that disruption earlier, say, than some of the entertainment space. I'm like, do you know how valuable your ability to like make things with duct tape and 2 paper clips and, charge millions of dollars? It's really, really valuable. It's not valuable right there. It's valuable over here. And so go find your foothold in and lean into that experience and be brave about, sharing that unique talent. I mean, it isn't what everybody knows how to do. I think it's pretty cool stuff.
I think our greatest contribution as coaches is the ability to reflect that value back to our clients, because they don't see it. They don't have the perspective. They're looking elsewhere when they need to also be looking inward and synthesize all of that value, all of that richness, and understand that there is an application beyond it. And it goes to and then beyond this idea of repurposing skills, right? And that what has application far beyond what you think it applies to.
Yeah. So I wanted to get your perspective on this quote. I actually was sitting in a session with Michael Bungay Singer, and he's an amazing coach and talent. And he calls us to unlock our greatness by working on the hard thing. So from where you sit and where you're, the clients that you're working with, what's the hard thing for folks right now?
I think the hard thing for all of us, I think the hard thing particularly for older workers, is to make the break with the past. And it's really, really hard to do. And it really requires a lot of reframing ideas and accepting loss, and being willing to look at our own pain as it relates to our careers and our lives. And look, we all have a lot of baggage. If we've been in the workplace for years, we have a lot of baggage around mistakes that we've made, decisions that we've made, choices and opportunities that we have missed, deals that have gone bad, relationships that we've blown. But our ability to be leaders and leaders of ourselves goes to our ability to accept that and say, hey, life is a learning experience. And if we adopt that learning approach, that learning mindset, then we're going to be better equipped to lean in to those hard things and accept that we can do these things, not just for ourselves, but also because, again, back to the responsibility, back to we have an opportunity to model and to demonstrate how this is done and generate other people's success through our own success.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's part of a practice, right? I mean, we can sit in a place of entitlement and anger. I mean, I definitely know a lot of people are like, this should have been a lot easier by now.
Yeah.
And maybe so, but you were born, 20 years later.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like cry at the moon. I mean,
yeah.
Right? It's like,
yeah, 100%.
You gotta make lemonade.
Yeah, 100%. And we idealize, we idealize things that are not really our reality too. So it is.
Yeah, I mean, I
very,
think
very interesting.
The hard thing, this goes to this whole concept of resilience. We've been talking about resilience a lot. I also think that resilience is not just, again, back to restore and repair. Resilience is not just bouncing back to the way you were before. It's not like you squeeze the ball and the ball is resilient and bounces back. Oh, good. No, we have to do more. This is about expansion, right? And the real challenge is not just to detach from that corporate environment, let's say, so that we can make room for that next act that's going to be more fulfilling, more impactful, but it's to really dream bigger and to really tap into that creative imagination that we all have around what's available to us, what the opportunities are. And it goes back to network, to reach out, to have conversations with people, not to shrink back, but to really expand out, ask a lot of questions, open up to new ideas, let these things sit and simmer and marinate inside ourselves so that we can actually evolve to the next level of whoever it is that we're going to be.
Yeah, I love that. I have still like 10 more questions I want to ask you, but but due to the interest of our viewing audience, I'm going to suggest that we wrap it up here.
Go back.
Yeah, we have more to talk about, maybe another time. John, it's been great to have you. I know there's so much more we have to learn from you, and I want to encourage people to both connect with you on LinkedIn if they're not already. Check out your website, and it's pretty exciting. You've got a cool ebook offered there, and I'll give folks a second to write that down. And I know those 3 steps will help jumpstart people on their way. But thank you so much for being here. It really was a great pleasure, and we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Daisy.
You're welcome. All right, folks, renew, pivot, and thrive in 2021. I will be back next Wednesday, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and having another great discussion with another level up leader in the midst. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Let's see if I can get my DJ skills going. There we go. Take care.